Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack something that is absolutely fascinating. But honestly, it's kind of terrifying too. We're talking about the quiet erosion of the self, this silent habit. Because every single day, millions of us are repeating this one specific habit. We do it from the literal second we wake up, right until our heads hit the pillow, and the crazy thing is, we're doing it completely without noticing. Now, as focused learners, you guys already know just how powerful daily routines can be. But today, we are looking at a hidden psychological habit that operates entirely in the shadows of our minds.
And look, this isn't some dramatic exaggeration. This invisible habit systematically strips away the very foundation of who you are. It steals your confidence, leaving you constantly second-guessing your every move. It steals your happiness, basically replacing your joy with this constant, low-level anxiety. And over time, it can literally steal your future. It boxes you into a life that is just so much smaller than the one you actually deserve.
But here's the most insidious detail we pulled from the source material. The absolute worst part about this destructive habit, it feels completely normal. I mean, it doesn't arrive with a big red warning label. It doesn't feel like a sudden crisis. It just blends so perfectly into our daily routine, into the everyday background noise of our minds, that we don't even realize we are actively sabotaging ourselves. Honestly, it just feels like life.
So, I want to pose this question directly to you right now. What is the silent habit destroying your life? What is this invisible force that operates completely under the radar, yet somehow dictates your confidence, your joy, and your ultimate trajectory? Just take a second to really think about what it could be before we reveal it.
Section 1. The Invisible Saboteur.
To understand what this habit actually is, we first have to look at where we traditionally place the blame. Most of us firmly believe our biggest problems come from, bad luck. We blame difficult circumstances. We blame those rare, catastrophic events that we had zero control over. And this brilliantly illustrates the disconnect. Because what psychology actually tells us is that our daily habits shape our lives far more than those rare events ever could. And that silent habit controlling millions of people? It's negative self-talk.
Section 2. Stories masked as facts.
So how does negative self-talk actually take root in our minds? Well, it never starts out as this booming, obvious voice. It always begins with very small, seemingly harmless little thoughts. Thoughts exactly like this: I'm not smart enough. You make a minor mistake at work, or maybe you struggle to learn a new skill, and this little whisper just pops up. It's brief, it's quiet, but man, is it deeply damaging.
And then it escalates. It turns into, I'll never succeed.
I'm always behind. Now, what's really interesting about this rapid sequence of thoughts is what happens when you hear them over and over and over again. You hear them so often that they actually begin to sound like facts. But the source material makes a really critical distinction here. Actually, scratch that. It's the whole point. They are not facts. They are stories. They are simply fictional narratives that your brain has repeated for so long that you've just completely stopped questioning them. You've essentially accepted a made-up story as the absolute truth.
Section 3. Rewiring the brain. So the crucial point is, why does our brain latch onto these fictional stories? Let's look at the underlying biology here. It all comes down to neural pathways. Basically, a neural pathway is a connection in the brain that strengthens every time a specific thought or belief is repeated. The psychology is crystal clear on this. The brain absolutely loves repetition. Every single time you repeat a thought, you reinforce that pathway. The more you repeat a belief, the more physically real it becomes in your brain's actual architecture. That is exactly why one single negative sentence, if you repeat it every single day, possesses the quiet power to completely change your entire identity. You aren't just thinking a fleeting thought, you are literally wiring your brain to become that person.
Section 4. The Empathy Test.
Okay, so we've seen the biology, but let's look at the emotional reality of this. I want to guide you through a pretty powerful mental exercise to test your own internal narrative. Truly imagine this. Imagine looking at a child every single day and telling them that they're a failure, telling them they aren't smart enough, that they're always behind, that they are never going to succeed. What would happen? Well, the answer is heartbreakingly obvious, right? Eventually, that kid would believe it. The destructive damage of that kind of repetitive negative language is totally undeniable to us when we see it applied to someone else.
So now, ask yourself, how do you speak to yourself? Would you talk to someone you love the same way you talk to yourself in your own head? If the answer is no, then why on earth do you accept it from your own mind? Think about it.
You would never, in a million years, tolerate someone emotionally abusing your best friend or your family members, yet we just casually sit back and tolerate our own inner voice doing it to us every single day.
Section 5. Changing your inner voice. This realization right here, this is the turning point. Because once we recognize the saboteur, we gain the power to defeat it. Changing your life doesn't always begin with changing your external circumstances. It starts with an actionable solution right here in your own head. Step 1. Notice the negative voice. You simply can't fix what you can't hear. You have to bring that silent habit out of the shadows. Step 2. Stop accepting stories as facts. When you hear that voice say, "I'm always behind," catch it. Label it as a story, not an objective truth. And step 3. Give your mind something worth believing. Look, your mind is always listening. The brain loves repetition, remember? So feed it a new repetition. Use that exact same biological mechanism to your advantage by consciously choosing thoughts that build you up instead of tearing you down.
This quote beautifully summarizes the core message of today's explainer. The conversation you have with yourself becomes the life you eventually live. It's so simple, but so profoundly true. If you are constantly engaging in a conversation of doubt, fear, and harsh criticism, your life is absolutely going to reflect those exact boundaries. But if you change the conversation, you rewrite the entire script of your life.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As you step away from this explainer today and get back into your daily routine, pay close attention to that invisible habit. Be the active author of your own neural pathways. What conversation are you going to have with yourself today?